Hello, everybody. Mike from Atlanta again. Today, I want to touch on some of the good. Not everything in life has been a horror and a nightmare. There have been a lot of good times, too. When I was a kid growing up, as I said before, I experimented with a lot of drugs. My favorite when I was a kid was psychedelics. They were pretty prevalent in the area I grew up in. There was a lot of acid, a lot of mushrooms. We live in Atlanta, which is about 4 hours from Georgia Southern, where my sister went to college at. They're known for mushrooms, prevalent up there. So they were as easy to get a hold of mushrooms when I was a kid as cigarettes. They were easier to get a hold of than weed. So I used to love to take psychedelics and go and do things. Some of my favorite times were tripping and going to Stone Mountain, tripping and going to Six Flags. Me and a friend of mine used to drop acid and go to the Six Flags Friday and Saturday night, all through the month of October. They used to have what they call a Fright Fest. It was about the same time that, say, one time Freddy Krueger was there running through the park, and it was scary, but it was fun. It was a really cool, energetic thing to do as a kid. What I also like to do is I also used to like to go to Stone Mountain, but I used to also like to go to shows. I was big into raves. I was big into concerts. And on one occasion, I was with a friend of mine, Donovan Bickford. There again, like I say, a lot of stories I tell seem like they could be BS. So I'll usually tell you, who was around, who can vouch. Donovan was there with me the night we went to the Masquerade and we saw Alice in Chains. For those of you that do and those of you that don't know, Alice in Chains was a grunge band, very popular in the 90s, but even they weren't that popular at this point. Okay, they were popular, but they're nothing like they are now. Now they're like icons, but back then they weren't that big. Anyways, me and my friend Donovan saw them at the Masquerade, which is a small venue in Atlanta. It's torn down now, but the Masquerade held a lot of shows. Like I might have mentioned before, later on after this, I dated this girl, and her best friend's boyfriend was the lead singer of D Delicious and the Tasty Testicles. And so we used to go and we saw a lot of shows and we'd hang out. They played there, so we'd party after hours. I met the Skate Nicks. I drank and partied with the Skate Nicks back in that day. They were not really popular, but somewhat prevalent. Anyways, this one occasion, like I said, me and Donovan went and saw Alice in Chains. So I'm trying to give you the backdrop on this place. The Masquerade has 3 levels, okay? Heaven, hell, and the middle is purgatory, right? Down in hell is usually where, it's like a big dance floor. It's usually where we would go. Like Thursday nights, they would play like old retro and stuff, and we would go, and it was kind of like rave music, retro. And on this occasion, like I said, there was hell was at the bottom, and that had a dance floor. There was purgatory in the middle, which had pool tables and a hangout area, and so anyways, upstairs was hell, where the concerts were held, but the room itself probably only could hold 1,000 people max, right? Probably less than that. The place could probably only hold 250, 500. If you're comparing like what they would say, how many people could legally be in a building with a fire safety in mind, probably 250 would be the max, right? So this is a small venue. It's probably a couple of hundred people, right? And Alice in Chains, Lane Staley's playing, and I'm just trying to give you the backdrop. This wasn't this. Most concerts that I've been to and big names are usually like at Lakewood Amphitheater. We're talking thousands and thousands of people. The stage is enormous. You could never get close enough to the musicians to even touch them, right? Well, this place was a little different. There was the stage was pretty ghetto, okay? It was just regular black stage, probably spray painted, made out of cheap wood. And so, long story short, we were very close. You could touch the musicians, right? When they were singing, they were leaning over, they're right into the crowd. If you're 6 foot, you could reach out and touch their head, okay? I'm only 5'5". I could, maybe touch him if I reached my hands out, on stage. I'd probably be touching his genitals, right? Anyways, I'm crowd surfing, and for those of you that don't know, most people should know just from the sounds and what it is. You get on top of a crowd, and a bunch of people hold you, and you just, you're floating around, swimming around in the air, and people are holding you up. I'm crowd surfing while Lane Staley, while they're playing Wood, which was my favorite song, which is a song about tripping anyways, by coincidence. And he's leaning over into the crowd and he's singing Wood. While he's singing this, I'm crowd surfing, right? The crowd tosses me, throws me up, and I headbutt him on accident. My head hits his nose, smashes his nose. He starts bleeding profusively out of his nose immediately. The second I hit him, for those of you that don't know, if you punch somebody real hard in the nose, they're going to bleed like a stuck pig. Alright, so I headbutted him, and he's still singing, and he never skipped a beat. Sang through the whole song. It was the most amazing, I can't even really put it into words. I can't even really describe it that well. The feeling was euphoric, like it was, like I said, there again, I can't even hardly put it into words. It's too hard to describe. But, like I said, I was tripping on acid while this was going on, so I'm really wondering if this is even for real. I headbutt him on accident, there again. He's bleeding, he's singing. Right there in the midst of that, the whole crowd, the people that were holding me, have now let go, and I drop out of midair, right? They all let go at the same time. As soon as this happens, bam, I fall to the ground. I'm on the ground and I'm getting pummeled, alright? People are moshing, and for those that don't know what a mosh pit is, a bunch of people, a bunch of angry grunge folk get in there and they're swinging their arms and elbows around and bumping into each other, but in a very violent manner. So I'm getting pummeled on the ground, getting kicked, I'm getting beat upside the head. People are probably not meaning to, but I can't get up. There's people all around moshing, going just absolutely insane. And out of nowhere, this hand reaches in and yanks me up. And it's just a bouncer, security guy, whatever. He drags me out of there, and he's mad, right? And he tosses me aside. And so I walk off, and I'm replaying what had just happened in my head. But Luckily, thank God, my friend Donovan sees me, comes over to me. Oh my God, dude, oh my God. Like, thank God that he was there to, reassure me that this wasn't, just something made up in my head. This really happened. Crazy, crazy story. Now, more than ever, I see on Facebook, Lane Staley now is like almost like a god. He's dead now. He died many years ago now. But anyways, there's so many Lane Staley sites with thousands and thousands of members. People idolize him still to this day, and I just think that was really cool, really neat. Kind of my little stamp on history. When I tell the story to some of these people in these Lane Staley groups, the people are in awe. A lot of people, call me a liar, da 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 da. Like I said, Donovan Bickford. I have a friend that was there. I'm still friends with his brother, Brandon Bickford, is still my Facebook friend to this day. Hundreds of, if not most all the people I'm friends with know who I'm talking about. But for those of you that are new to me, you can fact check anything I tell you. Donovan Bickford is Brandon Bickford's older brother. We grew up together. He's the guy that I have a lot of other stories that he's a part of. When I broke out of, when I was just come home from rehab, and my parents had told me all of my restrictions, I busted out. I went up in my bedroom, locked my door, busted out my bedroom window. There's a roof outside my window. Went out of the roof, got down, climbed down, went to my friend's house. It was Donovan Bickford's house, who I went to. The police came and they took me to State Mental Hospital. That was Donovan. So, like I said, some stories I tell seem outlandish, I know, but I have proof for every single one of them. I've done a lot of other crazy stuff in my life. Tripping was very prevalent in my younger years. Like I think I had said before, I went to rehab when I was 15. Well, when I did, that was introduced me to a whole new group of people I probably would have never met or associated with. I met what was one of the biggest acid dealers in our community, was a friend of mine, Kevin T. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to put people on blast that may or may not want to be talked about. Kevin T. was very prevalent with acid. He was a huge dealer growing up in our time, in our era. Well, I met him in rehab, and so obviously after we got out, whatever, we become friends with him and quite a few other people that were now my drug associates. Another craziest of all crazy stories I could throw in here real quick. One of the guys that I was in rehab with, and I've written a book lately, right? And I think the book's going to be fantastic. I tell all the talking points. As I've told people, I've lived a crazy life. I've been absconding from probation. I've run into my probation officer twice by coincidence while I was out and absconding from the same lady. Anyways, during these times, I met all these guys, right? Well, there was this one guy, Billy, I don't remember his last name, but I was 15 when I was in this rehab, right? Billy was 17. You could only be 17 and be in there. Like I said, I met KT, Kevin T, and Billy was one of the guys that I was in there with, right? Well, Billy was from Athens, right? And he claims, and I don't doubt it, knowing what kind of guy he was, what he was willing to do. He said he was friends with Michael Stipe. As those of you who do or don't know, Michael Stipe of REM is from Athens, He lived with him. He claimed he partied with him. This guy Billy was a nut. Okay, so and like I said, I met him in rehab, and that was it, right? We get released, whatnot. So I'm working at Kroger on Canton Road in Marietta, Georgia. I'm bagging groceries. I'm a kid, right? It was like, maybe the year later, 16, either 16 or 17. During those years, I worked for Kroger, and so he came in there while I was bagging one day. So I seen Billy here, year and a half down the road, and he says, "Wow, great to see you, buddy. I live right next door." He's friends with him and two of his best buddies have a house right next to where I'm working, right? So of course, the troublesome troublemaker than I am, I go to his house. He starts hooking me up with weed, trip, mushrooms, etc. He was one of those type of guys, right? Okay. So me and my friend Donovan, we're going over there hanging out with him. We're going over there, he's getting us beer. He was, like I said, always a couple years older than me, and he had a couple guys there that were even older than him. So he could get booze, he could get beer. Between him and my sister, I could always get it. The times I couldn't, me and Donovan would go sit in front of gas stations and pay people. We would just hit up strangers that we thought would get us some beer. So anyways, Billy wound up being the guy who was going to get us beer now. So we hung out quite a bit. They had a house. Like I said, I was still living home. I was still young, so a lot of the times it was a place for me to go and drink and hang out. Me and Don would go over there and get drunk and smoke and whatever, da-da-da-da-da, right? Okay, now here's where it gets really good. I'm sitting eating dinner with my parents, okay? First of all, there again, I tell you about coincidences. Coincidences in my life just don't make sense. Here's one of them. I'm sitting there eating dinner, okay, with my parents. First of all, no TV on while we're eating dinner. TV goes off, okay? Golden rule. Nope, no TV, no phone calls. Dinner was at 5 o'clock. Those of you who know my parents, they're, you can bet on whatever they say or do. 5 o'clock's dinner time. No telephone, no TV, all right? So there was, a handful of times in all the years growing up that the TV was on. It was very, very rare. It was usually if mom didn't feel good, if it was just dad cooking dinner, if it was just me and my dad, or me and my sister and dad, or vice versa, if dad was out of town. Like I said, it was very, very rare that the TV was on during dinner. While I'm sitting there eating dinner, the news comes on. It's 5 o'clock news. This guy, Billy, and the two guys that he lived with, his roommates, they streaked a freaking Braves game. For those of you that don't know what streaking means, it means butt naked. Yes, promise to God on everything I love, Billy and his friends got butt naked and got at the top of the whatever, where in the stadium where people sit at the stadium, right? They were at the top. They ran all the way down, ran out onto the field, and were being chased around. They showed this on TV. They had, those little blur outs or whatever. Obviously, they didn't show their junk. But, promise to God, Billy and his three friends are running around on the freaking Braves Stadium at 5 o'clock news, butt naked. Ding! Phone rings. Which, there again, anyone and everyone knew you don't call Rustkoffs at dinner time. Phone rings. Look, my parents kind of weird. I pick it up and answer it anyways. It's Donovan. Dude, you're not going to believe what happened. Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here watching it. There again, Donovan Bigford can vouch for this. just wanted to get a couple little crazy stories, some of the stuff that may be interesting to people. I find it kind of humorous, interesting. Let me think of another one. Let me come up with another one while we're still going on little crazy stories. What's another good one? Give me a second. What's a shocker? What's a shocker? Let me think of a shocker for you guys. Do-de-do. Okay, here's a little trivial, because I'm here in the area. I'm driving down what's called Barrett Parkway in Marietta, Georgia. Okay, this is right by Town Center Mall. This is the mall that all us kids grew up and went to. I was right there, literally right there. You see the Chick-fil-A and you see the Chili's. Right next to it's a gas station. One night I was driving on acid and it was pouring rain, right? Piss pouring rain. And I'm out driving around and I'm tripping balls, right? I shouldn't be driving, but it starts pouring rain, right? Crazy storm come out of nowhere. I get pulled over. Right there is, I don't know if there's still a gas station. This is the highway. It's 75. There's Chili's right next to Chili's. What you see right there, that new construction. I got pulled over. I pulled into that gas station, and I'm tripping balls, and I'm scared to shitless, right? But it's at night and it's raining real bad. I got a couple buddies in the car, and the cop comes over and taps on the window and says, "Son, you may just want to sit here and let it die down. I understand it's inclement weather. Maybe you shouldn't be driving. I just pulled over because I could tell you was having a hard time, and so just hang out here, let it die down a little bit, and have a good night, sir." I was sitting there in no condition. I'm not even able to make eye contact with him because my pupils are. Luckily, I got brown eyes, poo-poo brown eyes, right? So, for those of you that do or don't know, when you take hallucinogenics, your pupils get real big, right? Well, I was always able to play it off a little better because I got poo-poo brown eyes, so you can't see my pupils that well. I don't know how he didn't know, how he didn't see it. He just let me go with a warning. What had happened is I was so severely intoxicated that when I was doing my windshield wipers, I was catching trails out of this world. I couldn't even. If you haven't tripped, it's very hard to even put into words what was going on. I couldn't even see the road. I just seen my windshield wipers were making me catch trails, and it looked like. It looked like someone was pouring a bunch of different colored paint on my car, and my windshield wipers are wiping them off. That's what it looked like. Another bizarre, crazy thing I experienced. Thank the good Lord, I've been in 1,000,001 close calls with the police. I definitely have a guardian angel looking over me. I got a couple of other ones where I got out of getting in trouble with the law. That's just insanity. I can't wait to tell that one. Let me give you a little brief preview. I'm astounding from this place, from probation, okay? I get in a hit and run accident on the highway, and a detective comes to my house. Da-da-da-da-da. I have to go to the building of the same town that I'm absconding from probation off, and somehow I skated by the system, which don't happen. There again, I had a guardian angel. Somehow I made it through this ordeal with being on probation in a county, catching another charge, and being able to take it out of that county to state court. Somehow I made it through, which to this day don't make any sense. anyways, I just want to share a couple little ones with you. Like I said, I've done good and bad. Not everything's been a horror and a nightmare. I've had some good stories as well. Probably more bad than good, though, because that's what interests people. I've been shot at. I've seen plenty of dead bodies. I've told y'all a few stories about that. I've seen people try to kill themselves right in front of me. I've died and come back to life myself. That's for another day as well. I went down a road where I fell into addiction, and because of addiction, I nearly lost my life. I nearly lost my arm, and I nearly lost my life twice. Once from getting an enormous infection in my arm. Where's the camera?